Media Melanie Talks TV. I'm Melanie, and today I'm back with a very special interview. I had the opportunity to speak with Lena Hall, who plays Allie, Coop's sister, in Your Friends and Neighbors on Apple TV+. I have been covering the first season of the show, and now that we have the finale, perfect timing to share this interview. We had so much fun chatting about music, her experience on the show, working with Jon Hamm. But before I get into the interview, please be sure to like this video, subscribe to my channel. I've got lots of other fun TV coverage coming up this summer, and we'll have a finale review up on my channel as well for Your Friends and Neighbors. Without further ado, here is Lena Hall. Something that I loved about your character in this show is how honestly and authentically you played this role of Allie, someone who definitely struggles with their mental health. Was there any specific type of preparation for that? How did you really channel that whole vibe?
It's said in the breakdown when I got the audition, I put myself on tape for this, and when I got the audition, it said that it's like one of the main points of her character description is that she's bipolar. But when I really thought about it, I didn't want to play it that way. I wanted it to be as truthful as possible, especially for anyone who suffers from any kind of, depression or like anything where you feel different from the normal world. And oftentimes, I have issues sometimes as well with mental health. And oftentimes I will totally mask all of that for the whole world because I don't want people to know that I'm having a struggle. And I don't want also people's over sympathy or anything like that. I don't want people to worry about me. So it's definitely an internal thing for her. It's an internal struggle. And she tries to mask for the regular world the best she can. And she combats all of that with a great sense of humor, self-deprecation, and really acknowledging what's really going on, but also not showing anyone what's really going on the inside. So that was really important to me, was to think about, it's not about playing her as bipolar. It's playing her as just trying to feel normal in a world that doesn't feel like it was built for her. So, yeah.
I love that sentiment. And as somebody that also has some struggles, I really relate to that and feel that. And I just think you did such a wonderful job. That dinner table conversation in the finale, when she's like, yeah, leave it to the bipolar person at the table, to bring up whatever. I thought that was one of my favorite scenes of the season. That was such a good Allie moment. Was there any ad-libbing involved with that, or was that all entirely scripted?
That one was scripted. That one was very scripted. So a lot of times, me and John, we would ad lib into a scene or we would ad lib out of a scene. But a lot of times, the meat of the scene would be very scripted and structured. But for that scene particularly, that was all scripted, and Jonathan Tropper did an amazing job, with crafting such a fun scene. And what's fun about it is that it's so very Allie, she just tells it like it is and is not afraid to let everyone in on her goings on to kind of make a point. And of course it would make anyone uncomfortable, but she doesn't like to sugarcoat things. She likes to just be very blatantly honest.
I liked Allie the most out of anybody. Barney was pretty up there for me as well. But another scene, maybe one of my favorites of the season, was you up on stage there singing the doll parts, having that monologue. That was just phenomenal. I loved that. And a question about the songs. I read somewhere that in the audition you had to play fake plastic trees.
Yeah, the audition was the scene that opens with her on the lawn of her ex-fiance playing fake plastic trees, and while the family watches her, right? And it's a great way to set up a character. It's also a great scene for an audition because it kind of it gives you a very short period of time to establish the character, and so it's kind of like the test of how to establish a character that quickly. And the song for me was really helpful in that. And I already knew the song. I'd already played the song, and it gets us into the character.
Did you feel pretty confident in your audition, and how many callbacks were there after that?
I didn't feel confident at all in my audition.
I mean, you're a Tony
And maybe
Award
that,
winner here.
I mean, it doesn't matter, right? Just because you have a Tony Award, the industry is very good at humbling you very quickly, even if you've won an award. So I, you know, I had been doing so many self tapes, tons of auditions for everything, and I hadn't booked anything for a really, really long time, and I was pretty much thinking that I would never book anything ever again. And so when I did this audition, I kind of did it in the vibe that I would never book it.
Oh my goodness.
And it was just like, well, I'll do my best, but there's just no way I'm going to book this. Like, what, I can't get anything right now. Like, it's just not happening. And so really I didn't think I had a shot. And then they wanted me to do and then I heard back from them, and they were like, we want to do a chemistry read with John. And so that I did a chemistry read with John. We did the scene a bunch of times, and then I got the job. So that was it. It was pretty quick. And Jonathan Tropper, our showrunner, he was very decisive on me. And in fact, like, I think when he told me when he saw my self tape, after he saw my self tape, he really loved the way I kind of downplayed it, and I didn't play into the by quote unquote bipolar. I don't, like,
Right.
I played it very, very naturalistic, very real. And he liked that. And so then he watched this movie that I did called Bex that I starred and that came out in 2018. And that my character, she's depressed, she's singing in a bar, like
Hmm.
it's very, similar. And so once he watched that movie, he was like, I was his pick. And then he had to convince everyone that I was the right one. So we did. Well, and I did too. So we convinced them together.
I love that. And really 10 out of 10. I could not have picked a better Allie. You just did such a phenomenal job. Back to the songs again for a minute. Were all of those songs preordained, or did you have any choice, or were you able to make any suggestions on the songs that Allie would be playing?
The only song that we had picked was Fake Plastic Trees. And then there were kind of like suggestions of songs. But once I was on board, they were like, well, do you have any suggestions for songs that you would want to do? And so it became collaborative, but mostly for the first season. I think they already kind of knew what direction they were going, except they did license an original song for early on in three. In episode 3, I do an original song that they licensed for me. And then, so that wasn't, written. It was just written as a song. And they asked me if I had anything. So I sent a bunch of stuff. And then I'm not sure when Hold Me Now came to fruition, but a lot of times the song choices do have a lot to do with how expensive the song is to license. Some songs are really expensive to license, and it just depends on the importance of the music in the scene. So if the music isn't that important in the scene, then you're not gonna spend that much money on something that isn't supposed to like have an emotional impact. But Jonathan Tropper, he picked Wise Up, he picked Hold Me Now, he picked Doll Parts, but I had suggested Courtney Love, but I didn't suggest All Parts. I had suggested the artist, not the song. So yeah, that's how the songs came about. But the character was already written as a singer-songwriter, so there was no, it wasn't like they were like, oh, we hired Lena Hall, we're gonna have her sing and play guitar. It wasn't that at all. It was already written that way, and so I was lucky that I was able to slot into something that was such a good fit for me.
It really was a good fit. And I also read that you wanted to do the raw vocals versus pre recorded for all of your scenes. Now, was there any pushback on that, or were they very supportive of that methodology?
They were very supportive. But I also was very adamant because, I've seen it both ways, right? For myself, I've seen it both ways where they've used my live vocals on it, and then they've used tracked vocals on it that I'm like singing along to. And every time I would watch myself singing, when I knew I was singing along to a track that they were using, and they used the track vocals, there was there's like the littlest emotional disconnect that maybe not everyone can feel, but I can sense it. I can see it. I see it a lot. And when I watch, any movie that's a musical or anything where they don't use live vocals, they use pre-record vocals, but they use the live action, right? So
Mm-hmm.
they use their voice for live action, but then they cut to canned vocals. To me, it takes me right out of the scene. And a lot of times, sometimes there'll be a brilliant singer, and I never understand why they don't just let that singer sing live and use the live vocals. My very first experience with the team using my live performance vocals was on that movie Bex, and I noticed the emotional connection of the song was so much more complex. It made more sense, and you have the ambience and the sound of the room, and you have a more emotionally connected performance because you're singing it in the space, in the moment, in time. Whereas if you go to a studio and you pre-record your vocals, it's going to have that little disconnect, right? And I don't care if I sound a little off here and there. I know I'm a good enough singer, that I can pull it off, and they could have it in one take if they need. There's no fixing. And also, I'm not a perfectionist. I like vocal, you know, chain. I like it when a vocal doesn't sound computerized and perfect, because then you're really in the human experience. And sometimes people get so lost in needing
Perfection.
perfect vocals on a song that then you lose what would have been this beautiful performance with breaks and cracks and maybe a little bit of a flat note here and there. But it's about the full performance. It's not about the perfection. It's about the connection, the human connection. So I was very adamant with them, because it's not like, these songs are in the scene. They're part of the show. They're part of the character. They're part of the development. And because of that, I needed them to 100% use my live vocals. There's only one part where they actually put in a pre-record, just because on set that day, I had pre-recorded all the songs for them anyway, so they could hear how they were going to perform. And on set that day, I I put the capo on the wrong spot, and so I actually performed live on camera the song a half step higher than I recorded it. And so it's like, so when I do it live, it's a half step higher, and then they used it's Hold Me Now. So then they used the pre-record of Hold Me Now because they wanted to just go into the scene, and then they kind of cut it with my face and they tried to match it up a little bit, because they just wanted me to play and sing live. And I was like, well, should we use the track? And they were like, no, we don't need to use the track. I was just going to play with the track in my ear so I could have the same guitar rhythm if they wanted to like use a different guitarist. I'm not the greatest guitarist. But they were just like, no, we want you to do it live. I was like, all right. And then I ended up having the capo in the wrong place. And so, but they ended up just like meshing it together, and they did a great job. So they made magic. Though I suggested, I was like, I can come in and re-record. Don't worry. Like, we can redo this. Like, I can re-record the part that you want to use underneath, but I don't want to re-record the part that we already have in the can. Right. So, but they figured it out.
Good for you for standing your ground, because to your point, I think part of that imperfection just translated so well to the authenticity of your character and those scenes. So
Mhm.
I think that was a really smart choice, and you're very smart for having made it, and it just came out so good. And
Thank
you
you.
put out an EP. Now let me ask you this, were those pre-recorded tracks the ones on the EP, and at what point in the production did you come up with this idea? And just tell me a little bit about that process as well.
Well, so because of Snowpiercer, I did this show called Snowpiercer, and it was the opposite situation where I was hired on the show and they didn't know what to do with me. So they looked into like all what I've done, my background, all that kind of stuff. They saw I was a singer, so they wrote my character to be a singer, right? So they wrote it in because of who they hired.
Okay.
And because I performed so many songs throughout the series, I had been asking the producers, I was like, should I record these on my own and should we release these like when they air so that people can find them? Like I'm getting people like fans of Snowpiercer, they want the recording, they want to find it. They're ripping it from the show and putting it on YouTube and getting, tons of hits because people want to hear that song that I sang and that version, but they can't find it anywhere. Should we do this? And then the producers never really did it. So I actually ended up recording my own version of all the songs on the show and releasing it myself. And from that experience, I learned that people, when they hear something, music plays a huge role in what you watch on TV and in movies. And a lot of times people want to hear the soundtrack from what they're watching, especially if they connect with the show and especially if they connect with the song in the show. And so I thought, you know what, I'm just going to go ahead and get ahead of the curve. I'm going to record all the songs I did on the TV show myself. And I'm gonna release them so that people, when they see it, they can go and find it, and that way they can listen to what they want to listen to. So basically, I went into the studio with my producer Justin Craig, and I was like, let's do these songs, but let's do them in a way that's like our way. So they're not total copies of what Allie did, because Allie was just stripped down guitar and vocal. We added a little bit more production to it, but it's still very stripped down. And they're really, I think they're really pretty interpretations of the songs in general. So yeah, it was just a way for everyone to listen to the songs if they wanted to listen again after they watched it on TV.
I'm so here for the music in TV shows and movies. I'm definitely one of those people. And finding your EP is actually what really prompted me to want to talk to you, because I just found it so interesting. And I was playing it on repeat the day I found it. And I think you had commented on my Instagram post. And I was like, you know what? It'd be really fun to talk. So that's kind of what spawned this. But it came out
Oh, cool.
so great, and just props to you. In terms of the filming process, tell me a little bit about how long it took, your overall experience, any highs, lows, challenges.
The filming experience on this show was very fun.
Okay.
I have to say, it was 5 months, and it was people at the height of their craft coming together to build a show that we all believed in. So it was one of those things. It was so enjoyable to be at work. Whenever I wasn't at work, I was kind of felt like I was missing out, and I wanted to be there
Oh,
all the time. I never felt like, it was like I would work once or twice a week, and I always wanted to be there all the time because it was such a fun set, and it was such an amazing group of people. A lot of the people I never even got to see because I was never, in a scene with them.
right.
But overall, like everyone, it was just you wanted to be there, and that's a testament to John. That's a testament to all the executive producers. That's a testament to Apple. That's a testament to the script because everyone believed in it so strongly. It was amazing. So it was a great experience. And I was also, we were also filming in New York where I live. So it was nice to be able to film and then go home to
Yes.
my,
Oh,
my
absolutely.
house or my apartment. I go to bed on my bed, like that was really nice because a lot of things film out of town, a lot of time people go to Vancouver or Toronto or all over the place, Atlanta, places that they don't live to go film things. And that was definitely a luxury for me, was to be able to just go home and go to bed in my own bed. And so yeah, 10 out of 10, really
Oh,
rating 10 out of 10. Film experience of this was just like so much fun.
love that for you. Now, were you given Allie's kind of full story? Because this show was already renewed for a season 2 before season 1 even aired. Have they given you more context about what to expect from your character moving forward, or were you just kind of given what happens in season 1?
I only was given what happens in season 1, and we also get delayed on scripts. So Tropper likes to he likes to give us a little bit of, where he's taking the character. So he gave me a little bit of breadcrumbs of where the character is going, but really I would only know when they would send us the first drafts of the script, the first kind of like shooting drafts of the script. I mean, the scripts go through so many changes before the actors even see it, and so he kind of is like for season 2 he's kind of like a little telling me, but not really. And I think that's by design, and actually I don't mind it because I mean we're filming 3 and 4, episode 3 and 4 right now, and we just got episode 5 and 6 to read. So it gives you enough of a buffer time to kind of like plan for here. We're in 3 and 4 to plan what's kind of unfolding for 5 and 6. So you can kind of plan that. But what's cool is like as a regular human being, we don't know what our life is going to entail. We don't know our journey. We only can look back. And so it's kind of fun to go in and not really know too much of the journey. So you're not overplaying the end. You get to be more in the moment of only knowing the past. And we also, and also as time goes on, the past of a character gets way more complicated, because you as the actor, you as the character are putting all the pieces together and being like, well, how would she feel in this situation? Why would she feel that? Why would she react this way? What about it is the trigger, and what happened? And, so it's fun because you get to go through and you get to kind of like add the peel. You start with this little onion, and then you start adding the layers and layers and layers and layers. And the longer a season goes, the more layers you add, because there's more information added to your character over time. It's different with Broadway. With Broadway, you start, the whole story start to finish, and your layers are added to that same story. With each performance, for me, it's with each performance I do with a Broadway show, a new layer gets added. A new layer gets added as I hear things a little differently or understand things a little differently as I do the same show over and over again. Whereas this, it's stuff you can't see coming. And so you have to figure out how your character would react to these things that you don't even know that are coming. So it's like to put a puzzle piece together for this, it's like really cool. So it's like, how many layers and dimensions can I have in this character with all the information that I have so far that will make sense to like drive her forward into her next thing that I don't know what it is. So
Makes sense. And I do think that lends to the authenticity. And then you're not really working to get to a certain place. You're just kind of letting it evolve naturally. So I think that is a great approach. Favorite scenes from season 1 for you to film? What was your number one absolute favorite 10 out of 10 Allie scene and moment?
I had so many. Most of the ones that I had the most fun filming were with John while I was eating. Like, because for some reason, like one of the layers, I was like, oh, Allie always eat it. Like when she eats something that's kind of messy. She's kind of eating something kind of weird and messy. Um, you know, and so like the popcorn on the chest, or there was a scene in, I think it was 6 or 7, where I'm sitting there and I'm eating a sandwich when he walks in after he and Sam, have sex in the morning, right? And I'm rusing him about it. But I had requested that like I eat the most difficult, messy thing you could possibly imagine to eat. And so it was an open-faced peanut butter and banana with honey, but you can't see it because it's like the whole, like I had the whole knife was just covered in peanut butter. My hands were covered in peanut butter. And the idea was that it was just like always a disaster. She's kind of always a disaster, and she doesn't pay attention to the disaster. And if you really paid attention to her, you'd be like wanting to clean up, like give her a napkin or something, you know,
Yep.
but she's just kind of oblivious to it. And so that was a really fun thing, was certain things like that, little tiny character details that will go missed. But for me, you know, it will inform a scene, like how I speak in a scene. If my mouth is full with like mushy stuff and I'm eating weird, like it makes the scene a little different, right? Than if I'm eating something crunchy. Or and then another fun quirk is Allie, she always has to wear really interesting patterned socks
Okay.
that are chaotic. You know what I mean? That her socks are always chaotic and you never see her feet, right? But your socks are always chaotic. But let's see. I think, you know, overall, probably so many of the scenes were so great. It was so much fun to do. Certainly the eating scenes, but the scene where I was riding the bike to the gym and had to like stop dead at the thing. Well, I didn't know how to ride a bike, so I had to train how to ride a bike
Oh my
to do
gosh.
that scene, and I was absolutely utterly terrified. And it was really funny because the first take that we did, and they had me dead stop right in front of the camera guy, like coming right at him. And like the first take, he flinched, right?
I mean,
As I
who
was coming
wouldn't?
down there. Yeah, as I was coming down. And then the director came out and the director was like, "Hey, can you not look so scared?" Yeah, that was a challenge for
Okay.
me, which is it was just silly, but I, you know, I did that. But all the it was so much fun. I really can't pick a favorite scene.
That's great. I love that you have so many favorites. And speaking of John, I've made it no secret at all. I'm just so here for the ham of it all. And working with him, I mean, he played your brother. Did any of those kind of like sibling vibes translate off screen at all? Kind of that brotherly, protective vibe? How did you guys get along? I mean, it sounds like you had a great experience with him overall.
I did, yeah. So he's like a consummate professional too, you know. So, you know, there's definitely a respect there that I'm not all up in his grill or anything. But, you know, I always got a very good sense that, you know, he was protective of me and that he, you know, he just feels like a big teddy bear when you hug him. And he was just like, for me, it was we would talk and he would tell stories and stuff like that, and we would talk about music and things like that, you know. So we got to know each other a little bit, but overall it was like an instant, just I felt instantly like safe with him, and that safety helps with building kind of the chemistry that you need to kind of so that people believe that you've known each other your whole life and that there's that sibling kind of ESP thing going on, and like a real understanding of each other. I think because he really made me feel very safe and welcome on set, you know, like, and it was just kind of an easy. It was the chemistry came, and we had a really good time, and like he would ask me for what he needed in a scene, you know, and if he needed me to do something, he would ask me, and I never felt like it was rude or out of line or anything like that. In fact, it felt very collaborative, and it also felt very protective for the scene, for me, for our work and everything that we were building. And so he really opened the space up for us to just be open, you know, and honest, and give and tell each other what we needed for the scenes and for the show. Like, and that is so important. You cannot be scared of your co-star. You cannot, you know, it's a collaborative effort. We're all in it together. And it's easy to place the star of a show, especially someone like Jon Hamm, way up
Yes.
on a pedestal, and not be able to like and feel nervous about being around them and not feel like, you know, like you're on the same level, like you're going to get fired at any moment. I don't know. There's like so many complicated things that can come with that. I never felt less than. I always felt like we were equals. Yeah. And that's really helpful because it also creates an atmosphere, a relaxed atmosphere. You know what I mean? Where you're not nervous. You know, you respect each other and the work you do. And that just makes it so fun.
I totally bought you guys as brother and sister. And I'm wondering, do you have siblings where you kind of channeled this sibling vibe a little bit?
Yes. My sister, she's 5 years older than I am. And we're, oh boy, I could annoy the crap out of her. You know what I mean? But we're close. And while she has her life and her kids and everything, it's just whenever I see her, it's always that same dynamic of the protection. My sister always protecting me no matter what. Like, and watch out, because she's a Gen Xer and she'll kick your ass.
As
Like,
they do,
no
right?
joke. No joke. Yeah, she was a punk rocker back in the day, so don't screw with my sister. She'll she'll hurt you. She'll actually she's yeah, so she's always been super protective of me, and I'm comfortable being the little sister.
Now, there were some times during this season. Now, you had mentioned like you didn't get to meet a lot of people because you didn't have scenes with them. Sometimes I felt like some of Allie's storylines were maybe a little bit more disconnected than some of the other ones. But that said, by the end of the season, I watched the finale already. I could see exactly why you were there, to really add this kind of softer side to Coop. But as an actress, did you ever feel disconnected from some of the other plot points during filming or while you were watching it?
Yeah, but I think it's by design. And I think that the show overall is really so well written that Allie can't really be a part of like the friends and neighbors, because she doesn't subscribe to that life. It's not what she wants or aims to be or has any connection with. She doesn't want to be flashy. She doesn't want all she wants in her life is to survive day to day, and not have another breakdown. So her world is far more simple than the world that he was subscribed to and living in. So because of that, I think Allie gives us such a good perspective from the other side of things, feeling like the outsider, looking in and watching her brother go through chaos and being like, yo, what's up? Like, I know something's going on here. Like, y'all are weird over there in your rich world. Like, and again, Allie's purpose is to show that Coop is got a heart, because I think that he would come off really kind of psychopathic or sociopathic if he didn't have this person he was like always worried about, cared about so much, and loved so much. You know what I mean? Yeah. And also her world can kind of color his world a little bit too. But again, like watching the show, I wasn't worried that I wasn't a part of more things, because I knew I had a purpose. Like, I knew I had a purpose, and the purpose was to give the people someone they could root for. Essentially, it's like, a lot of the characters are really just horrible.
They are. And I just loved your character. You and Barney just were such bright spots in this show. And you brought so much life to it. And Coop is a complex character. And I had a hard time hating him, despite the fact that he was so detestable. And I easily hated Mel, no problem. Amanda Peet, super talented.
Right, yeah.
But
Yeah.
The whole Bruce thing, like, seriously, fuck Bruce, right? And for a moment there, I thought maybe around episode 7, maybe Allie's going to get caught up in her own deadly web and end up killing Bruce, although I don't think that's necessarily in her character DNA. But, I mean, we can't rule it out, right? There could be a possibility, maybe.
Well, but what Allie is known for is she can kind of fly off the handle every once in a while, unexpectedly too. So, she also brings a lot of tension in that you don't know what she's going to do. She's a free spirit, so she doesn't subscribe to the same rules as everyone else as well. And she's got this, this, I don't know if you call it a disease, but she's bipolar. So she has these manic episodes, or she's not as in control of herself as someone else might be. So she brings just kind of an element of chaos into the world as well. And I think that that keeps people on their toes for her, because she's not just like sweet. She's sweet. She's kind of childlike. She's trying to get by. Like, she's very honest, but also she's got this side to her that can kind of just break and crack, and you're waiting for that to happen, but you don't want it to happen to her because you really like love her and you want her to succeed and survive,
Yeah,
like,
of course.
yeah, they did a great job. Yeah.
I would love to see Allie snap and maybe kill Bruce and then see Coop protecting her in season 2. I mean, I'm no script writer here, but I think that would make an interesting story if it ever came to be. And who knows, maybe I'll be coming back to this interview and saying, oh, I was right. I don't know. We'll see. To be determined. But your dream show, if you could get cast on any show out there right now, what would it be?
Oh, goodness.
What genres are you into? Are you like a Severance girly? Are you more into?
Well, I was gonna
like...
say Severance.
Okay.
Cool.
I could see you on Severance. Totally could see that.
That would be cool. Severance would be cool. Keep it in the Apple family,
Right.
but also like the studio, like some comedy.
Fun show.
I would love to do. I would love to do a show where I get to really flex my comedy skills, because you see a little bit of it here and there, like I'm good at that, like kind of sarcastic stuff, or the dry humor. And I've never gotten a chance to really like lean into it and like go for it. And so I would love to be on like a comedy but it's like a dry humor kind of comedy.
Yeah.
So something that would highlight that. That's where
studios. Perfect.
Yeah, exactly. So,
and it is in the Apple family. So, I mean, just give Seth Rogen a quick call, like, hey, Seth, what's up? What do we got here?
Right. Yeah. I'll just call him up.
Right. Exactly.
I don't have his phone number.
I'm sure John's got his number, right?
Probably, okay. Actually. John knows everyone.
Right. Don't rule anything out. Last question. If you could perform a song on stage with any living musician, who would it be?
That's a good one. I think Jack White. And I know that's a strange answer. I think he's such a brilliant songwriter. He's just such a cool guitarist, and his voice is really cool. He's got kind of this bluesy vibe, and he's experimental. I don't know. He's just hands down someone I've always wanted to meet and always wanted to work with. And then, but to perform with someone like that would be just really, really cool. That, and then of course, Radiohead, but.
Well, I'm going to manifest a Jack White, Lena Hall performance together. I think that's a really good call. Jack White is incredibly talented. And is that the type of music that you listen to?
I listen to a lot of stuff, different genre, different time periods. Honestly, mostly I listen to stuff because I have to, like, for a project.
Right.
And, and I'm learning the song. So, I mostly listen to music that I'm learning. But certainly more old stuff. I don't know. We often like fall into the music that we listen to in our teens and our early 20s, because it's kind of brings back memories. It makes us reminisce. It makes us feel kind of young again. I find myself like caught in on that. But sometimes I'll find someone and I'll be like, I'm in the mood for this. Yep. In the mood for this album. But not a lot of pop. Like not a lot of pop. I'm a B-side. No, I'm a B-side kind of girl. I admire her. Right. Like, and her business. I mean, I think she's done amazing things, and she's also like evolving as an artist as well. A lot of artists have a hard time evolving, over time. But man,
to be Taylor Swift,
like,
right?
Wow, like one and only, like amazing. So she does have a skill set that I don't have, called business. And I'm just like trying to be creative, you know what I mean? And it's like,
Yeah.
and I'm not good at the business side of things. But I don't listen to really popular music at all. I think my biggest issue is, well, there's tons of stuff out there, so a lot of things get lost. I know there's artists out there that don't sound like this, and don't sound computerized and perfectionized. That's not a
Mm-hmm.
word, but do you know what I'm talking about? Where everything is
Yes.
so perfect. It bothers me when I hear it. And so that's why I don't like listen to a lot of overproduced stuff. Like pop music is very produced. But I know there are new artists and who are not that at all. But I haven't found them because you have people releasing AI songs every single day,
Oh
just
my
making
God.
money on Spotify. So it's like there's a huge onslaught of music that you really can't sift through. It's impossible. So I end up going to like my go-tos.
Well, Lena, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me. I really had a good time kind of getting to know more insights into Allie as a character and your experience on the show. And I am so rooting for Allie. And you know what? I wouldn't mind if she committed a little light murder in season 2 because seriously, fuck Bruce.
Yes, fuck that guy.
Yes.
I like it. What I love is that fans or friends who are fans of the show, they'll come up and they haven't seen the finale or anything, and they're like, "Fuck Bruce." I'm like,
Fuck Bruce. And wait
you
till you see that finale because,
you have
I
no
mean, you,
idea. Yeah.
yeah. The finale for Allie, like I said, 10 out of 10. That dinner table scene, the doll parts, everything. You nailed it. I'm so glad they cast you in this role. Shout out to
Thank
Jonathan
you.
Tropper for doing such a great job. And good luck on season 2. And hey, let's manifest, the Severance, the studio, another show for you. Because I think we would all love to see you on more shows.
Awesome. Well, if you want to see me on more shows, I'm more hireable if I have more social media followers. So go follow me on Instagram
That's right. Tell everybody your handle.
at Lena Walker Hall. You might see some posts, you might not. I don't know. It's just like, it's a mystery, isn't it?
Well, let's get you more followers, get you
Thank
more
you.
shows because we need to see more of you. And just thank you for doing such a phenomenal job playing Allie this season. Just could not have been better.
Well, thank you. And thanks for having me on your show.